Hey everyone, welcome to Friday Live with Dan. Today we'll have Dana Kim on from Highlight. She'll be coming on shortly here. So welcome to the show, everyone. Hope you're having a good Friday. If you're starting it or ending it, hope everything's going well. One thing I wanted to do was make an announcement of our our Spring X Day, and that's happening on the the 6th of June. I'll put the link in the comments, and then we'll also be pushing it out. So make sure you follow us and to get all information. In the link, you can register for all three of the X days. We're doing one for research, we're doing one for CX, and one for workforce as well. So we're dividing and conquering, as they say. And that's something that we'll be offering. So on the research, I know we're going to be talking about all of our product offerings, from research edition surveys to communities to audience to Insights Hub and so forth. So a number of things. We'll also have Matt Seltzer from S2 Research coming on to talk about, he'll be keynoting, and he'll be talking about sort of leading the way with research and what it looks like, where we're going in the future and so forth from his point of view. So really interesting, super engaging speaker. He's done a number of talks at the AMA and so forth. So definitely tune in. It's from 10 to 1 on, excuse me, I want to say May, but it's actually June 6th. And that's research. And then the subsequent days we'll have CX and workforce accordingly. All right. So put the link there. Make sure you register for that. And without further ado, I'll bring in Dana Kim from Highlight, who is a founder and CEO.
Hello.
Dana, hey, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks. You're fresh off of, I think, IIEX, or maybe it's about a month ago now, but, Highlight won the startup of the year. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It was so much fun. It was my first time at IIEX and first time pitching, and it was a 5-minute pitch, so pressure was on, and we were talking really fast. But
Yeah.
yeah, we won, and they presented us with an actual physical giant check.
Nice.
So it was
Nice.
like we felt like we won the lottery.
Yeah, I bet. Have you
Yeah.
ever gotten a physical giant check before? Is that a first time?
I have not. I would love to say like, yeah, someone's rang my doorbell, and I opened the door, and they're like, here you go.
Right.
But no, that was my first, sweepstakes experience.
Awesome. I know. I feel like everyone should have that moment at some point. So I haven't had that yet, but I want the big check at some point. So
Maybe I'll find a way to surprise you.
awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get your start in market research?
Yeah, so I went to undergrad for in here in New York,
Okay.
and I majored in econ and psych. Econ because I knew I wanted to go into business, whatever that meant, and psych
Yeah.
because I really loved it.
Yeah.
And then found on a job board this research and strategy shop called Kelton
Mm,
that seemed like the perfect combination of both. And so I went in, they had all these sexy logos. It was Uber and Facebook and
oh
Coca-Cola,
yeah.
and these brands that I thought were awesome.
Hmm.
And, there was this, the open role was quant intern.
Oh, nice.
I sat with the HR manager at the time, and she was like, you'll be helping all these amazing brands tell their stories and learn about their customers. So I kind of fell into it, but have been in it ever since.
That's awesome. Pretty similar stories I hear of people that either were
Yeah.
destined to do it, like that's what they went to school for, they did it, or they kind of fell into it. I'm in a similar boat as you, where I went to school, got a degree in business, specialization in marketing, thought I'd
Cool.
go on the other side of marketing advertising, got an internship for a research firm, and then the rest is history. So I've never left never left the industry. So that's
So many
interesting.
stories of like, I stumbled into it, and like 20 years later, here I am.
Yeah, right. Yeah, awesome. So tell me about Highlight. Like what I'm really curious about is how did you, and we can get into this a little more, maybe tell me about Highlight, and then kind of want to talk about how you saw the need for this and how you went about addressing that. So maybe
Yeah.
start off like, what is Highlight for people that don't know?
Yeah. So Highlight is an in-home usage testing platform. It is a technology that automates end-to-end the entire IHUT or physical product testing process.
Hmm.
Um, and it because we have our built-in community, and because we have all this amazing technology that makes the process far easier and more efficient,
Hmm.
it really tremendously reduces the time, the cost of an IHUT, as well as maintaining the data quality and really high completion rates and all the other sort of typical success metrics that IHUTs are involved with.
Got it. Awesome. And then how did you start Highlight? I know think you have a co-founder or someone that you brought on early on.
Yeah. I have a co-founder. His name is Ethan. He's amazing. My background is in market research, and
Mhm.
and not anything related to software building or technology or coding or engineering. And Ethan's my technical co-founder and CPTO of the business. So
Mhm.
together we've built Highlight, and the origin story really from my perspective is that I was at Kelton, and
Mhm.
I switched from at the end of my quant internship. I went to my manager and I was like, I really love Kelton. I love the outputs. I love working with clients in this way, but I think I'm more of a people person than a spreadsheet
Mhm.
person. And so, like,
Mhm.
can I pivot to qual? So then I started as a qual analyst, and that started my journey in working with big CPGs, especially and conducting field work. And I was a field researcher. I was moderating focus groups. I was moderating intercepts, standing in grocery stores, handing out products, saying, "Stop right there. Try this Dr. Pepper. Stop this Dr. Pepper
Right.
sample,"
Right.
in the middle of a Family Dollar in Central Florida. That was my first field work stint. And I just realized that, and we were an innovative shop. I loved my time at Kelton. We were doing really cool work and adopting all the cool new tools.
Mhm.
Um, but when it came to when a client would come to us with a physical product that they wanted tested, there was no tool that would help us make that physical product testing process more efficient. And there was
Got
no
it.
silver bullet. So it was a clear gap in the market from my perspective. And after about 5 years at Kelton, I decided I was going to go to business school
Mm.
to chase down a potential solution to this pain point that I was feeling very acutely. So I applied to business school. I actually wrote my admissions essays around I want to build a product testing solution.
Oh, wow.
Was very intentional about it. And then while at school, I was experimenting with a whole bunch of ideas around how, what this could look like. I actually launched a vending machine that was free products in exchange for feedback.
Oh, that's smart. I like that.
That was, highlight, 0.0.
Did that work?
And
Did the vending machine work? Like,
it
people
did.
take the
It did.
product?
It worked.
Yeah? Yeah.
It was awesome. There was an app. You would, go sign up, give a few quick demographic um, questions, and then choose what's in front of you. And it
Mm.
was this really cool, like, automated intercept is what I called it. Um, but while experimenting with all these ideas, I was applying to all these grants at school and awards for $200 to test your idea and things like that.
Right.
And Ethan, my co-founder, was on one of those boards reviewing applications for startups looking for awards and grants. And he was like, "Oh, I think there's something interesting here." His background is in product development, and so he saw the pain point from the other side of the coin where he was building physical products and couldn't test them easily.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
so we met in school, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing. I was wondering what the connection was of, because no one just stumbles into IHUT. So I figured,
Yeah.
like, there must be some connection at Kelton of how you got started, and that makes sense. So
Mhm.
you definitely saw like a pain point, and I think help address a need in the market. So that's really cool. I think I was reading on a blog, or maybe it was a post from Highlight. I don't know if it was you or Ethan that said it, but there's so much advancement being made in the market research industry and with new tech and so forth. But I think it's kind of to the point that I read in this article was there hasn't been a lot with the problems that you guys are addressing with the
Mhm.
end-to-end, IHUT solution. So maybe talk
Mhm.
a little more about that. And are you guys the first in the market? Or are you how do you differentiate yourselves?
Yeah. I mean, IHUTs are a methodology that have existed for years and years, for
Hmm.
decades.
Hmm.
And there are some amazing experts out there in terms of humans that have been executing them or agencies that have been executing them.
Hmm.
Um, and we're by no means the expert researcher or PhD that is facilitating getting an iHUT off the ground. We are the
Sure.
technology that is stringing together all of the different complex pieces
Hmm.
from recruiting a very niche audience to getting your physical product out into the right hands to assigning inserts and rotations,
Hmm.
uh, getting product back. It's a very complex and also important, impactful methodology where you don't have the luxury of refielding. You have 100 prototypes of the newest,
Hmm.
Chips Ahoy flavor, and you need to make sure you get feedback on that before you launch it.
Hmm.
So that level of importance and all of this back and forth and stringing together different pieces was always done by people. So we are definitely, first in that we are coding up a solution to
Right.
in-home testing focus exclusively on this one pain point that expert researchers can leverage to execute their research.
Got it. It makes sense. And I think if you're a researcher, you don't want to really spend your time with having to deal with sending out the packages, making sure people got them, making sure they complete everything. Like you want to just dig into the data at the end, right? So
Yeah.
definitely.
It's painful. It's like it's a million emails and spreadsheets and Word docs and this and that going back and forth when really your goal is find an amazing audience, send them your products, and design an awesome questionnaire that gets you amazing data. That
Hmm.
stuff is still in the hands of the researcher. We're just the toolkit to ensure the rest you don't have to worry about.
Got it. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Can you share like an interesting product or project or something that interesting that highlights done for a client?
Oh my gosh, I need to get better about this question because every time I'm like, there's so much I want to talk
Or maybe
about.
your favorite. We'll go with that.
Well, top of mind for me is we have this amazing partnership with Mondelez and Snack
Hmm.
Futures, and Collab is their Accelerator program where they are really enabling brands that have a mission, more smaller startup brands that all have some sort of mission, whether it's better environment, better products, allergen free, etc.
Hmm.
And Snack Futures supports their development and leverages the Mondelez ecosystem and expertise to really build those brands up. So it's a
Hmm.
really cool program and mission. And so partnering with Mondelez and Snap Futures and Collab, we actually helped, all 9 of their brands in their current cohort product test on Highlight and get incredible structured consumer feedback on physical products that they hadn't had access to before. So I thought it was a really cool case study in structured feedback across multiple brands that they can then compare notes and figure out, okay, what are we learning across,
Hmm.
as well as really enabling IHUTs as a methodology to go down market and not just for the big enterprise CPGs that have massive budgets, but
Right.
also smaller brands that may not have the resources, being able to leverage the Highlight platform as an on-ramp into all this amazing data.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like a really interesting study, especially with some of the emerging products and things that they were releasing. So it makes
Yeah.
sense. Do you see Highlight mainly being used for, is it new products? Is it testing old products? Like how does that typically work in terms of the life cycle?
Yeah, it's like half and half. So
Mm,
half of the time it's pre-launch R&D product that we're still tweaking the formula. Our packaging isn't yet finalized,
right.
and we're using this research to define the product development. And half of it is, okay, this product is in market. Why isn't it doing well? Or why is it doing amazing? Or how
Hmm.
can we better sell this to a retailer? Or how does this compare against a competitor? There's lots to be learned on both sides of the product launch.
Got it. That makes sense. That makes sense. So obviously you're doing amazing things in the iHut world. Do you guys look at, future trends, or what do you think is sort of trending that you're kind of taking a look at, and like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's something that's going on in the industry.
Yeah. So we are happy to be laser focused on iHuts and making them, better, faster, more affordable, more accessible, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But iHuts right now, we're essentially taking the traditional iHut methodology and making it all of those things. We haven't yet changed or tweaked what the iHut offers.
Hmm.
And we're more and more having conversations about how does this iHut process live more in e-com experiences or in a consumer's day-to-day versus out in a research silo.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's a ton of work out there and a huge school of thought around behavioral data and research versus reality. How closely are they aligned?
Yeah.
We want to make sure that the same conversation is being had in physical product testing. So if it's delivered to my home in a highlight box and I'm answering some questions on it, great, that's really interesting. But what if it's delivered to me in my Instacart delivery or in my local grocery store delivery? Does that change the thinking? And do I then think about, okay, if I had
Mm.
purchased this, what would I think of it? So there's a lot of behavioral research, transactional research tying into the
Mhm.
real world that we're thinking about all the time.
That's interesting. Yeah. So kind of like unaided awareness almost of like, what do people think about this if it was just a natural, kind of reoccurring experience for them? Huh,
Exactly.
interesting.
Yeah.
So if I get a highlight, let's say I sign up, I'm a member and highlight, and I get a box, do I get solely like one product, or do I get a range of products and I have to
Yeah.
rate all of them? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. We get it all the time because our marketing shows these boxes with all these amazing products in them. It is typically the latter where your box has one or two products, and
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
one of our brand partners has chosen to send you exactly those products. It's
Got it.
not a shared box. When we started, we did have this mission, and we continue to offer it, although it's a minority of our business. Is almost in the style of omnibus,
Hmm.
where different brands can share in an iHUT experience, and it goes out to more of a Gen Pop audience. And it might not be on your timing, or it's not as on demand or as tailored, but it is
Hmm.
a much more accessible experience where you as a startup brand can drop your product in this omnibus box and get some feedback on it in a more lightweight way. So it was an emerging brand sort of subscription box model that we do still pursue,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
we have since definitely doubled down just due to demand on traditional iHUTs as we know them.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Interesting. So, what do you think in terms of, let me try to get my train of thought here with the IHUTs, but is it mainly like taking a survey, or do they give video feedback as well? Like, how does that work on Highlight?
Yeah, so I mean, iHUTs, there's quantitative iHUTs and there's qualitative iHUTs, and then
Hmm.
there's everything in between. We've had, iHUTs where it's purely a survey and it's sending thousands of askew out to an audience to
Hmm.
make sure that you're getting really validated quantitative data back on product performance. On the flip side, I am, it's white space innovation. I have 15 prototypes that I'm curious to get tested, but with every single one of those, respondents, I'm going to make sure that I get a ton of information out of them. So
Hmm.
maybe it's longitudinal and they're checking in every few days and answering a few questions, uploading a video, sending photos. But we do have that very qualitative side as well. And then lots of in betweens. So sending a couple hundred out, getting some photos, getting some videos, lots of
Hmm.
open ends, that kind of thing as well.
Got it. Makes sense. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate the time, and it was really interesting to learn more about you and Highlight. So, if people want to know more, letshighlight.com. Is that the best way to get more information?
Yeah, letshighlight.com. I realized my name auto-populated
Hey,
Dana.
perfect.
Let's.com. Amazing marketing. My
Yeah, I
computer
like
has
it.
a mind of its own.
Yeah.
But yes, you can check us out there. Dana at letshighlight.com is my email if you want to learn more. But thanks so much for having me, Dan.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Cool. Talk to you
All
soon.
right. Thanks, Dana. Talk to you later. Awesome. So that was Dana Kim from Highlight. Great guest and really interesting what they're doing in the iHUT space. So if you want to know more, definitely check it out. With that, I think we can wrap up the show today. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you again soon. All right. See you, everybody.